Picture this: a person you'd call a saint, kind, compassionate, morally unshakable. Someone who'd never dream of harming a soul, who lives for justice, who lifts others up without a second thought. Now, brace yourself. Imagine that same person slowly twisting into something unrecognizable, cruel, deceptive, even destructive. How does this happen? What dark forces could turn a beacon of goodness into a monster? Today, we're diving deep into the psychological and philosophical secrets that shape human nature. We'll expose the hidden triggers that drag even the best of us toward darkness. And trust me, the final revelation will hit you like a thunderbolt. It'll completely reshape how you view humanity forever. This is not just a theoretical discussion. Understanding this transformation is crucial because it affects all of us. You might think that you could never fall into such darkness, that you are immune to the forces that corrupt others. But history and science tell a different story. The terrifying truth is that under the right conditions, anyone, no matter how kind, how just, how morally strong, can descend into something they once despised. Psychologist Philip Zimbardo, the man behind the infamous Stanford prison experiment, revealed how ordinary people, placed in certain circumstances, can commit acts of cruelty they never imagined. His research, along with studies from figures like Stanley Milgram, show that our sense of morality is far more fragile than we think. The shocking part? Most people never realize they are changing until it is too late. But what are the forces that drive this change? What unseen influences slowly wear down the goodness in a person, replacing it with something darker? That is exactly what we are going to uncover. The truth may be uncomfortable, even disturbing, but it is necessary. Because only by understanding this process can we prevent it from happening to ourselves and to those around us. There are several factors at play, and each one is more insidious than the last. First, there is the slow erosion of moral boundaries. It does not happen overnight. It begins with small compromises, justifications, and tiny betrayals of one's own principles. A person might tell themselves, "This is just a small thing, it does not really matter." But once the first boundary is crossed, the next one is easier to step over. This is known as the slippery slope effect. A well-intentioned person might start making small ethical exceptions in difficult situations, perhaps lying to protect someone, bending rules for a good cause, or justifying minor wrongdoing in the name of necessity. At first, these actions seem harmless, but over time, they reshape the person's identity. What once was unthinkable now seems reasonable, and when that happens, the descent accelerates. Then, there is the influence of authority and obedience. One of the most chilling psychological studies ever conducted was by Stanley Milgram in the 1960s. Participants were instructed to administer what they believed were painful electric shocks to another person, simply because an authority figure told them to. The results? The majority of participants continued delivering shocks, even when they believed they were causing serious harm, because they felt compelled to obey. This reveals a terrifying truth. Even good people, under the right conditions, can become tools of harm. They may not act out of malice, but out of duty, pressure, or fear of consequences. They convince themselves that they are just following orders, that they have no choice, and in doing so, they allow their morality to be overwritten. But it does not stop there. Another key factor is the power of group identity. When people become deeply attached to a group, whether political, religious, social, or ideological, they begin to see those outside the group as the other. And when that happens, a dangerous psychological shift occurs. History is filled with examples of how ordinary people were led to commit horrific acts because they were convinced that their enemies were less than human. Dehumanization is one of the most powerful tools in the transformation of good people into monsters. It allows individuals to justify harm by seeing their victims as undeserving of empathy. Think about how many atrocities in history were committed by people who, at one point, considered themselves good, moral, even righteous. They did not wake up one morning and decide to become monsters. It was a slow process fueled by small moral compromises, obedience to authority, and a growing sense of us versus them. And here is the most unsettling question of all. Could it happen to you? Could you, under the right pressures, under the right influences, become something you never thought possible? The answer is more complicated than you might think. And in the next section, we will go even deeper into the psychology of justification, the illusion of righteousness, and the final, most dangerous step in this descent. The most shocking truth of all is yet to come. One of the most dangerous aspects of this transformation is self-justification. People rarely see themselves as villains, even when they are committing terrible acts. Instead, they create narratives that allow them to believe they are still good, still righteous, still on the side of justice, even when their actions suggest otherwise. This is where cognitive dissonance comes into play. Psychologist Leon Festinger introduced this concept to describe the mental discomfort we experience when our actions contradict our beliefs. When faced with this contradiction, we do not always change our actions. More often, we change our beliefs to justify our actions. Imagine someone who sees themselves as a kind and ethical person, but who finds themselves in a situation where they must harm others, whether physically, emotionally, or socially. Instead of admitting they have crossed a line, they tell themselves, "I had no choice," or "they deserved it," or "this is for a greater good." This process allows them to continue seeing themselves as good while doing things they once thought were unthinkable. This is why history is filled with examples of people committing atrocities while believing they were doing the right thing. When people justify their actions, they silence their inner conscience. And once that voice is silenced, the descent into darkness accelerates. But cognitive dissonance alone does not explain everything. There is another force at work, one that is even more insidious. It is the illusion of righteousness. People do not just justify their own harmful actions. They often begin to see themselves as superior to others. The more someone believes they are morally righteous, the easier it is for them to condemn and harm those they see as less moral. This is known as moral licensing. Studies have shown that when people see themselves as good, they often feel justified in doing bad things. A person who donates to charity in the morning might feel less guilty about lying in the afternoon. A leader who believes they are fighting for justice might feel justified in silencing those who disagree. The irony is that the more people see themselves as righteous, the more blind they become to their own moral failures. History has proven this time and time again. Some of the greatest horrors were committed not by people who saw themselves as evil, but by those who believed they were on the right side of history. So, what does all this mean for you? We've just scratched the surface of how good people can slide into darkness through small compromises, blind obedience, group loyalty, and the lies we tell ourselves. But this is only the beginning. In the next video, we'll unravel even darker layers. How the illusion of being right blinds us, how dehumanization tears apart our humanity, and the ultimate force that could turn any of us into the monsters we fear. Are you ready to face the truth about yourself? Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned, because what's coming next will shake you to your core.